I mean, I can see lots of people waving flags, so there's clearly lots of enthusiasm for the state of things there. But what about actually getting things done and organising things? Spell out for us, how it is actually working on the ground.
Well, it's starting to work. You're getting these committees that are being formed to look over sort of all aspects of life here. You're getting defence, of course, you're getting the local authority committees, you're getting safety, medicine, that sort of thing. And so they are getting some kind of structure on the ground. I have to say, though, that some people are expressing to me some dissatisfaction because some of the people who are appearing in the new committees are faces from the old guard of Gaddafi's regime, and people are not very happy about that. They want the whole sort of floor to be swept and a new breed of politician, a new breed of leader to be brought in, not the old face of Gaddafi.
Presumably they'd be starting from scratch, though, if because there wasn't really an opposition as such.
Well, exactly, it's very difficult. That's why I think they're going back to these established committee people, because they know at least the process and what has to be done in order to get Benghazi and the other towns functioning properly. So, I think probably we'll see the true face of the Libyan people through committees in about sort of 6 months' time. But at the moment, very much they're focusing on getting life back to normal here now and looking what the next steps can be. But I have to say, although this seems a very relaxed atmosphere, there is a concern that Gaddafi, when he finally realises the game is finally over, he may unleash his air force, or what remains of it, to have one last crack at these towns. So there is a bit of apprehension in the air.
Yeah, on that note of fear that is perhaps pervading, is there anything they can do about that? I mean, do they have any kind of ammunition or equipment that would mean they could sort of counter-attack if there were an airstrike?
Yeah, they do have equipment they've taken from the army. We've seen a lot of anti-aircraft guns, but it's basically the expertise in firing these that comes into question. It doesn't seem to me that they're very well organised in that front, but they do have weapons. We don't know any plans from the military, but no army in the world is going to advertise beforehand what they're going to do. But they do have weapons. We're not sure how modern those weapons are. The ones we've seen have been pretty antiquated, so it doesn't look very good militarily, but I think politically it's the hope that they're going to pursue. OK,
Tony, thanks very much indeed. Tony Bertley live in Benghazi. I'm now joined by Mohammed Ali Abdallah, the Deputy Secretary-General of the National Front for the Salvation of Libya. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. What are the options now for Gaddafi?
Well, there's not that many if you look at it, but also you have to evaluate that he doesn't necessarily think in a rational manner either. So when you want to evaluate, you have to sort of look at from his perspective. Leaving the country, at his will, I think he's proven that that's not going to happen. He's going to have to be forced to do that. Now there's now a
travel ban, I suppose, which would make that more difficult.
Exactly. So, but there are some sort of behind-the-scenes negotiations and offers that are being made to him through different diplomatic channels that he still has. However, I think the fact that it does not come attached with some kind of immunity from justice, which is by far, definitely not an acceptable option from the Libyan perspective, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to just walk away.
And he's always had this kind of inner circle of people, the circle of people that he trusted. What's the significance that his head of military intelligence, Sanusi, has been replaced? Is that?
Well, it's a major significance. However, I have to emphasize that circle is becoming thinner and thinner by the day, by the hour. Abdullah Sanusi is one of the biggest allies that he's had, at least especially outside of his tribe. And Abdullah Sanusi being taken off of this role, I think signifies two things. One is that there's some discordance within the regime's ranks, what's left of it, and also that Gaddafi is taking a position or trying to bring people that are close to him from his own tribe and his own family only, and that's very very important as well.
Talk to us a little bit about the role of the tribes, because that's one of the things that's been significant in some ways about the way things have moved so quickly, because he essentially kind of didn't satisfy them, and they've sort of in the end got annoyed.
Well, it's the tribes is not an independent institution. The tribal institution of Libya it's part of the makeup for hundreds of years, and it's a reflection of the people themselves. So the people being under the oppression for the last almost 42 years, I think the tribes are speaking on behalf of their people for once. Gaddafi continued over 42 years to marginalize everything, any kind of institution, whether it's the tribes, the military, or even sports clubs. So therefore, therefore the tribal institution had suffered from that over his regime. Now, with that wall of fear falling, I think now you're seeing the tribal leaders and the wise tribal leaders speak out on behalf of their people.
With years of resentment that had built up.
Well, the years of resentment, and also for knowing the fact that this regime is pretty much finished. And if they want to establish any kind of credibility with their own people, they have to side with their people. And that goes to say with all the institutions in the Libyan country right now.
OK, Mohamed Darat, thank you very much indeed for the time being. I'm sure we'll talk to you a little bit later on. Thanks. Now, humanitarian aid is being sent to the Tunisia-Libya border from the international community, but tensions there are high, with skirmishes on Tuesday between the crowds fleeing Libya and border guards. Security forces have been overwhelmed by the number of people trying to cross into Tunisia. Thousands of Libyan and foreign nationals have been camping out there for almost a week while they wait for aid. James Bays joins us now from Ras Ajdira at the Tunisian-Libyan border. So, James, it's been pretty grim there. Tell us what's happening now.
Well, it's been a problem for days, but I think things are now approaching breaking point. Let me just step out of the shot, Lauren, and show you the situation here. There are, the other side of that border, thousands upon thousands of people. No one knows how many, but certainly the crowd here has been growing. We've been seeing every few minutes people being brought out of that crowd, people who fainted, people who were dehydrated in the crowd. We've seen people trying to break through, climb over the wall. There are security forces here, the army. There are also locals here with clubs, and we've watched them using those clubs to stop people crossing the wall. At one point, the situation was that the Tunisian army felt they were about to be overcome, and they were firing shots in the air to try and keep back the crowd. All that's stopping the people from crossing from the other side of the border behind me is a metal gate, a blue metal gate, which you can't see in the mass of people there. And there are real fears that they might manage to force that gate open and then come into this area. I've spoken to the Tunisian authorities, also to representatives of the UN and the EU are here, and they're saying they're doing all they can to speed up the process. They're processing 1,000 people every hour, but more and more are gathering on the other side of the border, Lauren.
1,000 people an hour is quite a lot, isn't it? But what else are they bringing any kind of security reinforcements? Because, as you say, the Tunisian forces there seem to be slightly overrun.
Tunisian forces are overrun. There's a lot more resources coming. The World Food Programme have brought food supplies here. There are tents being erected, but none of it's really fast enough for the flow of people on the other side, and we really don't know what the situation is among those people. Those that we've spoken to say they've had an appalling ordeal. Some of them, one man we spoke to, went first to the airport in Tripoli to try and get out of the country, couldn't even get into the airport, then took a very hazardous road journey to this border. He then spent 4 days in that crowd before finally getting here, and he said the conditions in there were appalling.
OK, thank you very much indeed. James Bays live at Ras Ajdira for us. And we'll be going back to Tunisia later this hour as we look at the human cost of the revolution.
I'm Nazanin Mashiri in Kesrine in southern Tunisia, the scene of some of the worst police brutality. People here say the snipers who shot protesters in cold blood from rooftops like this still haven't been brought to justice.
Yemen's president has lashed out at Israel and the US, blaming them for orchestrating the opposition protests that he's facing. President Ali Abdullah Saleh is under mounting pressure. There have been more protests in the capital on Tuesday.